Yeah. So what we have seen here is that because all these four protons in the molecule of 1,2-dichloroethane, they are similar, actually similar to each other. Okay, that is, they are associated with the same kind of neighbors around, and therefore all of the four different protons are going to give a single peak, okay, at a particular position, right? Now if you compare this with another molecule of dichloromethane, and that is 1,1-dichloromethane, just look at this molecule now. Okay, 1,1-dichloro. So both the chlorine atoms are associated with the first carbon here, carbon number 1. Okay, and therefore these protons, now you'll find that this proton is different from these protons. Okay, so there are two distinct groups of protons, you will say. One proton is associated with carbon number 1, and there are 3 protons which are associated with carbon number 2. Can you all hear me properly?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so just give attention to this point here. There are two different sets of protons I have here. One proton is associated with this carbon, which itself is associated with 2 chlorine atoms. And these 3 protons are associated with another carbon, which is not bonded with any chlorine atoms. Okay, so we have 2 different sets of protons. These 3 protons are actually equal to each other in terms of their chemical environment, whereas this proton is a single proton which has its own particular peculiar characteristic. And therefore if you look at the NMR spectrum, then we are going to get 2 different peaks. This is peak number 1 and peak number 2. Okay, this peak number 2 is because of this particular proton, right, which is probably requiring a lesser energy for the transition, whereas these protons, this is requiring a higher energy, in fact, and this one is requiring a lesser energy, because these are, you can say, they are associated only with this carbon, and therefore the chemical structure is rather more simple. The shielding effect probably is lesser here, and therefore they have a particular energy absorption. So 2 distinct peaks are now observed in the spectrum. And then another interesting thing that we can see is that each of the peak is actually divided or split up into more peaks. Can you see that? Okay, instead of getting one single line, we are getting 2 lines here, and instead of getting one single line, we are getting 1, 2, 3, 4 lines here. Can you see that? The 2 central lines are more intense, and the lines at the periphery or at the sides, these are a little less intense. Can you see that? So each peak for the protons is mutually split up. Okay, and that splitting is because of what is called as the spin-spin interactions. Okay, and that is itself because of the chemical environment. These protons or these other chlorine atoms are having some influence on this particular proton, and therefore although we are expecting a single sharp peak, that peak is actually split up into 2. That is, we get a doublet here, and here we get a quadruplet. That is to say 4 different peaks are there which are actually close to each other, and they are actually representing one particular energy. Okay, one particular energy range, we can say. Okay, now if you again look at it carefully, then these 1, 2, 3 different protons which are there, okay, 1, 2, 3, these are giving rise to n+1 number of peaks here. N+1, n is what? Number 3, 1, 2, and 3. So n+1, so that is 4. There are 4 number of small peaks here, and this one here is giving n+1, that is 1 single proton. So 1 + 1, that is 2 different peaks here. Now this is the effect of the spin-spin interactions of the different atoms, right? So this kind of information, now of course we are not expert, even myself I am not an expert in NMR spectroscopy. Okay, so whatever I have learned is either through some of the samples which I have already probably analyzed in my lifetime, or maybe because somebody told me something, my teachers told me something, and then I have been reading some literature about this, and therefore whatever I have read from that information I am telling you. But to an expert person, the analysis of now these molecules are quite you can say simple molecules. Okay, analysis of complex molecules is maybe a very tedious process, a very hard work. A lot of hard work is required to analyze complex molecules. Okay, now here I'm trying to tell you about the known molecules. Okay, there are many molecules in the laboratory which are unknown molecules. So people are working with unknown molecules. Okay, so to find out the exact structure of the unknown molecules, it requires a bit of expertise, I would say, right? Yeah, so this is the same thing which I was telling you, a doublet, triplet, or quartet. I said quadruplet, but the correct term is a quartet. Okay, so quartet is a set of 4 signals, and these 4 signals will be obtained from 3 protons which are which are close to each other and which are very similar to each other. Okay, so without going too much details of that, yeah, again, there is one more example of ethanol. Okay, C2H5OH. That is the molecule ethanol. And then you will find that there are 3 different types of protons here. One proton here is the isolated one with which is bonded to oxygen. Then there are 2 protons which are bonded to the carbon here, and then one carbon only. And then these 1, 2, 3 protons are associated here with the other carbon. Okay, and therefore there are 3 distinct types of protons, and therefore we should get 3 different peaks. Okay, so peak number 1 here, peak number 2, and peak number 3. So preliminary, you can say, analysis will tell us that there should be 3 different types of protons. Okay, if you remember one of my slides where I had written, who are you, how many of you are there, okay, who are your neighbors? Do you remember those questions? So here we are getting the answer to those questions. There are 3 different sets of protons, 3 types of protons, I would say. And then if you look at the mutual splitting of the bands or the peaks, then you will find here that 1, 2, 3, 4 peaks indicate that there are 3 equivalent protons there somewhere in that structure. Then 1, 2, and 3 will indicate that there are 2 different protons again of a different type, okay, which are also closely associated. And then this one single standalone will tell you that there is 1 proton somewhere in the structure which is a different proton compared to these 1 and 2 protons, types of protons, I would say. Okay, so 4 means 3 protons, 3 means 2 protons, and then there is again, maybe we could have got 2 different peaks. Okay, but that kind of splitting is not seen here, and therefore we are getting only 1 peak here, but that will indicate that there is 1 more proton. So 4, 3 and 2, 5, and 1, 6 different protons are there. If you count that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, now the energy which is absorbed, that energy will tell you something about the neighboring atoms that are present close to the protons. Okay, so if you look at the standard literature, or you can go to the library, most of the instruments have their own libraries. Okay, so within the instrument also there is a software. That software will help you to compare the spectrum which you have got for the sample molecule. That spectrum is compared with what is already stored in the memory of that instrument. That is the library of the instrument. And then on comparison, the instrument will actually tell you what is the structure similar to, okay, or what could be the most likely structure of that particular molecule. Okay, so nowadays the instruments are very sophisticated, and if you give an unknown compound as a sample, then the instrument will be able to tell you the closest resemblance of that structure to any other known compound, and that will help you to identify the particular molecule. Is it clear to everybody? Then these are some of the applications I have written. Of course, these applications are not very elaborate. And once again, I will tell you that for any technique which I am teaching you in this particular session, okay, in this particular semester, you are supposed to find out some proper applications from the net or from the literature, which I have given you. I think I have given you some ebooks also. So try to read those ebooks. And I don't remember if I have given you one ebook by, I don't remember the name now, but that was pertaining to animal tissue culture. Do you remember that? If I have given you an ebook, animal tissue culture. So if you don't have that ebook, then I will pass on that ebook to you on the group. So everybody will have that ebook, and then that is especially for the topic on laminar airflow systems, because I think Shamim had requested me some time back that he couldn't get much literature on the different types of biosafety cabinets. Okay, so that information is given in that book on animal tissue culture. Okay, so very soon I will be able to send that to you on the WhatsApp group. Okay, so these are the application in order to find out the structure of biological macromolecules, maybe DNA or proteins, the structure of membranes, enzymatic reactions, what is the substrate which is formed. Okay, then the metabolites present in the different pathological samples like the urine sample, plasma sample, and so on. Okay, the only drawback of this technique is that it has a very, very poor sensitivity. Why it has a poor sensitivity? The reason is that the natural abundance of isotopic atoms in any given sample is very, very less. Okay, it may be even less than 1%, less than 0.1%. And therefore, the signals which are obtained are very poor signals, and therefore the sensitivity is low. Okay, so preferably if the sample amount is more, that is the concentration of the sample, if it is more, then we should be in a position to analyze the samples without much problems. Okay, so this is a very general thing I have written here. You can go through my presentation. If you want, I can also post you the PDF version of this presentation so that you will be able to read my presentation before the exam. Is it okay? So that was all I wanted to tell you about NMR spectroscopy. If you have any problems, then you can ask me your problems. Any questions?
No, sir.
Okay. Shall I end this lecture? Dheeraj wanted to say something. Okay. If there are no questions, then I will end the meeting. And tomorrow again, we are going to meet probably at 11:30 if everything is okay. If there are no other lectures, or if other lectures are already declared, then I will have to change my timing. So for most probably it will be at 11:30. And then I'll be talking about some other technique. Maybe it could be atomic absorption spectrophotometry or something else. Let us see. But what I have done is I have purposely taken these three techniques earlier, that is UV visible spectrophotometry. Then I have taken infrared spectroscopy, and then NMR spectroscopy. Okay, so that is because I wanted to give you a first-hand information or knowledge about what are the different types of radiation sources which are utilized for sample analysis. Okay, and what is the different type of information that we get from these different types of analysis. Okay, so we have seen how the UV visible range is used, we have seen how the infrared radiation is used, and now we have seen how radio waves are used for sample analysis. Okay, if no questions are there, then I will stop this lecture. Okay.